All right, hello everyone. So I've been asked this a few times on how I'm making these crazy animations. So things like, let me just play it for a second. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Up into the sky, you and I never falling down again.
How I make things like this.
Up into the sky, you and I never falling down. Oh yeah, you give me pillows.
I'm gonna go through how I make something like this in a decent amount of detail. I'll do as much as I can to try and explain it. I'll show you how to do rigid bodies and what you should be doing when you animate these really big animations. So let's get started. I'm going to start at the beginning. Hopefully you already know how to upload an avatar into VRChat. I'm not going to go over that. You should be able to have a working avatar in the game. I'll leave a video in the description going over that, something that helped me out when I first got started, but you should be at the point where you have your avatar, it works in the game, there's um, you're just looking to animate stuff and do really crazy animations. So, the first thing, we've got our avatar. The first thing you want to do is set up a rigid body. Now what a rigid body does, let's say for example you want a cube. You want the cube to spawn in front of you. So there's our cube. You want to activate it with a gesture. It's going to come on. Boom. So to do that, you would drag it onto your avatar. You'd unclick it and, you want that cube to activate in the game. So you'll use a gesture, which I'm going to show you how to do. And it's going to click on, right? And then you start moving around. You want to see it. You see how the cube is following our avatar. So without a rigid body, it's going to follow your camera movement, and it's also going to follow the position of the avatar. So that's why we want to use a rigid body, and it'll stay in place wherever we place it. So to do that, we're going to unplay this. We're going to drag the cube outside of the avatar. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make an empty game object. Excuse me. Create empty game object. You want this to be right underneath your avatar. So over here, under transform, you put 0 for X, 0 for Y, and 0 for Z. Perfect. Now I would call this like rigid. That's what I usually do. We're going to call it rigid. And under the components, you see this little gear icon. You want to click on that. And we're going to do, no, I'm sorry, don't click on that. You want to do add component, and you want to search for rigid body. Don't do 2D, do this one. Mass, you want this to be super big, so put it at like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Drag, same thing. You can just copy and paste these once you've done one. Uncheck, use gravity. You want the constraints to be frozen on everything. Alright, we're done for that. Yeah, that looks good actually. I'm going to fix the one I was using for, fine, okay. So that's good. You don't need to touch this anymore. That's your rigid body objects. Cool. The next thing you want to do when you get started is we're going to add the tutorial avatar to your main avatar. So you want to search for tutorial in the search bar, and this is under our VRChat SDK. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to drag this into our hierarchy, and you can see it's the blue boy tutorial avatar. We're going to fix that so this doesn't show up. The reason we want to use this is if you just use a fixed joint on an object, it's gonna not work in the game. This will fix that so it does work. So under controller, this is important. You want to search for T-pose. And you want to put an avatar controller T-pose. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to call this something. I usually call mine like my animation. And this will be the object that you're going to activate when you want your animation to go off. Okay, so we've got that. We have that. That's good. So under this, the tutorial avatar, we're going to unclick skin mesh render. You can even just unclick that. You're going to unclick all of these because you don't want the body to show up. So boom, he's invisible. Now, under the components for the tutorial avatar, you want to type in fixed joints. Fixed joint. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. Okay. Sometimes I forget to. So angular drag, you want that to be 0. You want to uncheck, use gravity. You can leave everything else the same. Now, the game object that you made outside, sorry. So we actually want to drag this to our main avatar. So there it is. It's now under our main avatar here. Cool. So I'm going to go back to this, and in the connected body, that's where you want to drag. So we're on the tutorial avatar. You want to drag the rigid object that you made outside of the avatar to there. And you're good. So now whenever you spawn the cube, here's our cube, which is in front of us. It should stay in place. I'm forgetting something though. So after we do that, we set up the rigid body. We're good here. Now for the fun part, to make really complex animations. I always animate my stuff with Gameobjects, so we want to do create empty. Put that right underneath our avatar. And you want to animate this outside of your main avatar. So we animate that. We're just going to create a new folder. Tutorial, I can just put it in here. So this is how you're going to animate the entire thing. So I would, you can call this whatever you want. You can call it like my main animation. Then you can call this animation object or whatever you want. And that's animated. So then you can drag this under, you want to put it under the tutorial avatar. Remember, this is the blue boy. Under hips, that's where you want it to go. So, boom. And you want to keep this activated. Whenever you're going to activate the animation in the game, we're going to have this unchecked initially, and we'll make an override to activate that. And this one's animated. So now, when you put the cube on there, cube goes under the animation objects. It should stay still. So let me show you that. And boom, you can see it looks glitchy in this view, but in the game it should look smooth, so you're not going to get that weird movement. It also depends on the object, so like some of them are going to look kind of weird, but it should look better in this view. Yeah, it looks slightly better, but you can see it's staying still. So this is how you make really complex stuff, and you can dance around and do a bunch of crazy stuff like this. Alright, so that's just a simple thing showing you how to animate a cube. Trying to think, what am I missing? The override. And I don't think, sometimes I add a fixed joint on this, I don't think it's super necessary. I don't think it does anything. You can do it anyway. It's not gonna hurt anything. Oh, so, right, to start animating. Like I said, never animate on your main gameplay avatar. Always use Gameobjects outside of your avatar, then put it on there. Some people do it like this, which I guess you can use for emotes, but I usually use gestures. So if you animate directly on the avatar without doing it outside of it, let me show you what happens. So let's say you want the cube. Just drag that there. Let's say we want the cube to like move this way when we activate it in game. If we do this on our avatar, actually I'm going to name this like do not do this. Bad. And that's unchecked. Okay, so this is, let's say you're trying to animate something. Don't do this. So we have our avatar. We want the cube to move. You're going to have to animate the cube. So you do create on the clip. We'll do bad. Right, so here we are. To animate anything, you can click the record button. You can do particle effects and stuff. We drag it this way. Excuse me, no, we have to scroll out further. So we'll do like 1 minute and 10 seconds. That cube is moving. But what happened to our avatar? It's all scrunched up, and now you can't even control Z. This thing is, it's gonna be like that forever. You can do like control Z. Well, I guess they fixed that, but it didn't used to be like that. But if you do that, if you have it go off, it's a pain in the neck. You're gonna have to, fix it. So just don't do that. It's a bad way to animate. The better way to do it is, let's say you do want the cube to move. So you're going to drag this out. It's now not on our avatar. It's outside of the avatar. Now you can create an animation clip for this. So we'll do cube moving, hit record, go out to farther in the keyframes. We'll do 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You do that, and you can do this. So there you go. That's what it's going to do in game. So that's permanently animated. You can pause stuff too with animations. Let's say you wanted to do that, and then you want to like, pause for a little bit, and then you want it to go further. And that'll slowly go up. So that's done. So then we drag this onto the animation object, and now you can just continue animating, and it's not going to screw up your main gameplay avatar. It's it's totally fine. You can move around, and it's not going to do anything. And if we play it, it'll start going off. So you want the cube to spawn, boom, that'll go off. You can dance around it, and go right up to it. You can add particle effects if you want. There's a lot of particle prefabs, or you can make your own. There's tons of free stuff on the asset store. You can just search for like particles and just go to free, and you'll find a bunch of stuff. Particle ingredients pack is a good one to use, which I think they still have it. Ingredients. Standard assets is always good. But let me actually find ingredients. You do like fire. Okay, yeah, that's good. So you can add like particle effects, and you can drag it around and do a bunch of stuff. One thing to know for particles, let me find a good one. Yeah, this is a good one. So you want to optimize or try to optimize particle effects in the game. So you can like change the color or whatever. But this is a lot of particles that are going off all the time. So we can lower that. We could 100 is good. You can even do like 50. You can lower the emission rate so it'll still look the same. So you can do like 2 over time or 30, 50, whatever. A lot of standard prefabs come with like 1,000 particles, which is way too much. It's not going to look any different with 1,000. Just lower it, do 100, you know, standard. I should do like 50, try and make it perform better. Cool, we can drag that other thing. We'll have like a little cube that's doing this. You can get super complex, and to do like complex stuff. So we have our animation thing. This is how we're gonna time all the objects out. So you want to add that under the hierarchy. Oh, and for 3D objects, which is what I usually animate with, make sure you get rid of colliders. So any like cube object is automatically gonna come. You can just get rid of that. So you add the cube, you add fire, rain, get rid of this. So let's say, you know, we want it to start off. Then we want the cube to spawn at, you know, 15 seconds. Then the fire will come in at 30, and we'll just keep both those on. So I copied this. So I did Control C, and then I'm going to do Control V at 100 keyframes. And that way, it'll come on at, yeah, so it'll come on at 5 seconds. We have that thing spawning. I'm actually going to space these out more to make it more obvious. There's the cube. There's the fire thing. That's how you do it. You add a bunch of stuff under your main object, and then you just animate from there. And actually, I did this wrong to make it easier. You can also just zero that out, and we'd have to fix these and bring that down again. Yeah, so zero your animation object out before you do a huge animation, or else you're going to have a bad time. What am I missing? Audio. So for audio, you do create audio source. We will put that on our avatar. To make things sound good in game, you go to linear roll off, and we're going to drag that up because the audio is really quiet in VRChat. We're going to make this just a line. We'll drag it up to the top. That way it'll play within our confines. Don't put it at 500. That's what it is on default. That means the entire map is going to hear your music once this goes off, which is annoying for people. So you can put it however big you want your thing to be. 20 is good. You know, you can, in like the 20 to 40 range, 40 is pretty large. We'll do 30. Doppler level, you want that to be 0. And you need an audio clip. So it has to be OGG format. To do that, you can download Audacity. It's a free software. You just drag an MP3 in here, and then you do File, Export as OGG. I think I already had one in here for this video, which, if I can find the folder. Tutorial. Oh, yes, there it is. Alright, so we have our audio source. We're going to drag that into audio clip. You want Play and Awake to be on. We're going to put this on our animation because we want it to go off when it's animating. Boom. And then when we play, it's going to start going off. So we just did that. If you animate while it's in the play menu, it's not going to save. So we can just add that. That looks pretty cool. We'll put that on there. And I'm not going to edit this, but there you go. We can have that come later. So we can think, what am I missing? Oh, yeah, so for a lot of my animations, I do body changes or body transformations. I also animate using actual 3D models. So let me show you the body change stuff, and then I think I'll go over how to animate 3D models. So for body change stuff, we're going to, your avatar is probably going to be different. The reason I have so many materials is I use them, but it's the same idea with any 3D model you have or any avatar you're using. Excuse me. So for that, get rid of this. We're going to use another game object. So we're going to create empty. We're going to put that under avatar. So 0, 0, 0. You can call this body transformation. And we will put that on our avatar. So to do, like, let's say, we find some shaders. You know, let's say you want the shirt to change into like a different shader or something. You want to change it. Well, that's lewd. You know, let's say you want to change into this over time. You can even like do this, or you know, you want to do a bunch of crazy stuff. So to do that, you want to copy over your material. It's probably not going to be as split up as this. So it should be easier for you. You want to make a duplicate of that. So that is Control D. And you drag that under body transformation. And now you want to uncheck your main material. So we're going to uncheck that. This one's already checked. And then you can just start changing stuff on this one. So not that, that's lewd. We'll do like this and that. And it's, you know, you can find shaders everywhere. We'll do this and change that to that. You can change the face. And, you know, you could do like neon stuff or whatever. We change the hair. You make it crazy looking. We'll do this and change that there. And all right, well, good enough. So that's there. Okay. It's actually, so under body transformation, I did this wrong. It's hard to, I'm not good at giving tutorials, guys. I'm sorry. We're gonna do change one. If you want, this is if you want multiple transformations. If you just wanted to change into a different thing once, you don't have to do that. But if you want like multiple clothing changes or whatever, this is how I do it. So you drag all of that under change one. Change one is under body transformation. And actually, you have to animate the body transformation object. So we'll drag that out. We're going to animate this. Body. Okay, that's animated. Remember, never animate on your avatar. Always use game objects outside of the avatar. And we'll put change one here. Oh. Oh god, why isn't that? Okay. And then you want to add that as a thing. This is if you want, so like, you don't have to do this. This is if you want them to change like multiple times throughout your animation. You do like change one, change two, change two, and then you would like change, hang on. For change two, you could make it different, so could like do this or that and just like change it to different colors or whatever you want. Change the skirt to blue. So change two. We got change one. Yeah, that. So boom. You can also just duplicate your normal materials on your avatar and have that as like your normal starting thing if you want to like start off normal and then change into something different. Alright, so once we start our animation, it'll be on change one. we'll have it go to 5 seconds. We'll do change 2. So you do change 2, you uncheck change 1, and then you drag this out really far so it'll stay. And let me show you what that looks like. So. Start it off, and then it's going to go to blue, and there you go. Cool. So we did that. I'm going to show you how to activate all this stuff in the game. It's after we finish. I think the only thing I'm missing is adding flame effects. So let's say you want like a world particle to remain as a world particle. So I can get rid of that. Alright, so this is a world particle. So like you can have it as local, but it's gonna look different. With local particles, it's going to stay with your hand movement. Let me show you the difference. Alright, so you can already see the difference. So with local, this one is local, that one is world. Local, it's staying with the hand movement. With the world particle, whenever you move around, it's like gradually moving instead of this one, which is just staying in the same place. So we can fix that. The first thing is, yeah, okay, you want the simulation space to be in worlds. And you can't just put it directly on your hands and activate it, or on your body. You have to make a rigid body for your hands. So let's say you want to, with a lot of my animations, I like spawn particles or fire or something out of my hands, and I can like play around with them like a fire dancer. To do that, you find your wrist or your hands. Mine is called a wrist on my avatar. And you want to add a rigid body. So I already have mine set up. I'm going to do rigid body. Rigid body. There you go. It's already there. You want to have the constraints. So same thing, similar to what we did before. Constraints, all frozen. Dynamic bone, don't worry about that. That's for dynamic bones. So just ignore this. Mass can be 1. You don't need to make that infinity for hands, and you want to do that on your left hand too. Now when you want the world particle to not be affected by your armature, you do create empty, and we're going to call this like right hands worlds particle. And the first thing you want to do is you want to drag this on your hands, and you want to zero that out so it's directly on your hands. So now that's on your hands. Now after it's got the position correct, you want to drag it out of your armature onto your avatar, so it's not on the armature anymore. And this is where you put the particle. So we've got this one. We're going to drag that into there. And now, yeah, okay, so you add a rigid body to that game object again. You can make that 0. Check off use gravity. No, sorry, you don't want to add a rigid body. I'm getting confused. There's a lot of information. I'm sorry, guys. You want to add a fixed joint. Uncheck that. Use gravity. And then you want to drag your wrist or your hands, where you just made that, onto the game object. So you drag it over. And now, the world particle will work. And it's not going to be tied to where your hand is. It's going to be able to like move around you, and you can sweet. So I think that was a ton of information, and I'm sorry. I've been doing this for 30 minutes. Now I'm going to show you how to get this to work in game. So first, we want body transformation to be off. I'm gonna undo that. And we're gonna have our materials selected on. You want to make sure your animation is off. What is this? That's the flame. We can turn that off. You want to make sure that nothing's going off in the game, or else when you load your avatar, it's instantly going to go off, which we don't want. We want it to be triggered. So there you go. All right. So to get the override, first, this is also in the SDK, or you can use the search bar. I'm going to use the search bar because I have a lot of stuff. Override. Actually, I think I'll just look for it in the SDK. So, where do I have that? I think it's under animation, maybe? SDK. Alright, here it is. Custom override empty. Which is under SDK, examples, animation, SDK2. You want to duplicate that. We will drag this to a folder outside of the SDK. And I would name this what you want your thing to be, so we'll just do animation. Alright, and we're going to drag that to standing and setting. Okay, so the override is set up. Now we just have to make the animation, or the animation override. So we're going to duplicate this, uncheck this. We're going to call this animation override. And now we animate that. So, great. We'll do animation tutorial. And we're going to add that animation. So you just click it on. You make sure it's checked. You want to delete it. It's going to, on default, it's going to be at 1 second. We don't want that, so get rid of that. We want it to be 1 keyframe. Now you can see it's the hands are going to look like this. So unless you have full body tracking, you need to use, you got to change each individual finger. You can do that manually, but the best thing you can get is called Muscle Animation Editor, which I think is $15 in the asset store. And let's say you want this to go off with thumbs up, like the thumbs up gesture when you're using VR or desktop. I think it's like F7 or something. So I know this already, but you can play around with it. It's got like sliders and everything. But to do thumbs up, it's 0.25, -1, -1, -1 for ring, -1 for little. You want to do 0.25 again for the other hands. -1, -1, -1. -1. You can also do handgun, so you would do like 0.78. Actually, we'll just keep it on handgun. So 0.78, 0.78. And as you can see, that's a handgun. You can do custom ones too, but I usually just keep it on default. So that's all good. We have that going off. Let's say you also want your world particles in your hand to go off, so you can add those individually. So we had that under right hand world particle. You actually want to keep this activated at all time, and you only want to activate the actual particle system. So whenever you do world particles in your hands, always have a rigid body active at all times. And you activate the individual particles, so that's good. And then you want to do Command A, Command C, drag it over 1 keyframe, and Command V. And there you go. That's your animation. Here is our, no, there it is. There's the animation override that we made. And this is the animation that we just created. So you're going to drag this onto handgun, because that's the gesture that we are overriding. So that's on handgun. And now whenever you do handgun in the game, you're going to see that go off, and it should stay in place. We can uncheck this. We can check this again. And I did this wrong, so always remember for world particles, always make sure that is on, the particles off, and whenever you do your handgun, you're gonna see your thing, and you can make this as complex as you want. But that's, you know, that's the idea. That's